Hello, I'm Paul Lee and welcome to Korean Football Shinmun. We didn't have a chance to look at the FA Cup semi-finals last week, so we'll have a look at that today, and also a bit of K-League 2 news as well. But first, let's have a look at some of the papers from the back end of last week. I was rather hoping that the headlines would have been about the Korean FA Cup semi-finals. There was a couple of upsets, or almost upsets, with Hwasong FC beating Suwon Blue Wings in the first leg, and also Daejeon Korail drawing 1-1 with Sangju Sangmu. However, the front pages for both Sports Kyonghang and Sports Donga both went with the European Champions League, because Hwang Hee-chan and Kang In Lee both made their European Champions League debuts. In Sports Kyonghang, it says on the big stage, or on the dream stage rather, it's the Korean big show. They've both done it, referring to them both making their debuts. The best one though was in Sports Donga, Hwangsue Jilju. It's the galloping of the bull. Hwang, obviously Hwang Hee-chan, and Hwang, sorry, in Korean means bull. It's quite a little clever piece of wordplay from Sports Donga. Hwang Hee-chan, he got 2 goals for Red Bull Salzburg in their 6-2 win over Genk, and an assist, and Kang In made a substitute appearance in Valencia's 1-0 win over English Premier League side Chelsea. But in page 2 of Sports Kyonghang, there's a piece about Ulsan. It says, Ulsangi Duen Ulsan. Ulsan have become tearful. This is because they say that Ulsan are not quite as good as Jeonbuk, and some of the reasons mentioned are that injuries to Dave Bultuis, their centre-back. The signing of Kim Sung-kyu hasn't had the desired effect. Kim Do-hoon's touchline ban are all sort of factors in their 14-year wait for a real title challenge. Further down the page is a piece here about the top 2 in K-League 2 going head-to-head. On Monday night, Busan Park hosted Gwangju. Gwangju at the time had an 8-point lead, and it says here that it was a life or death situation really for Busan Park, i.e. a must-win game. And as we know, they won 3-2 to narrow the gap at the top to just 5 points. On page 2 in Sports Donga, they are saying it is the rebellion of the underdog continues. Picture there of Hwasong FC celebrating their goal at home to Suwon Blue Wings in the FA Cup semi-final first leg. In Sports Chosun, they said 4th Division Hwasong FC is the Korean version of the Calais Miracle. This is a bit of a deep cut. They are referring to when in the year 2000, Calais, an amateur team at the time, they made it all the way to the French Cup final. So they're posing the question as to whether Hwasong can do the same. And then just below that, they are saying it's thanks to an extra time equaliser, Daejeon Korail keep going. It was in injury time when Daejeon Korail did equalise against Sangju Sangmu of K-League 1. And speaking of K-League 1, in the bottom corner there is some talk about possible winners for the various awards come the end of the season. It has MVP, some candidates are Sezinia of Daegu and Kim Bo-kyung of Ulsan, and also it has some suggestions for the Young Player of the Year award. Kim Ji-hyun is mentioned, and also Lee Dong-kyung. And in terms of the top goal scorer, Adam Taggart at the moment does lead the way, but Wanderson of Pohang Steelers isn't far behind. And the assist king, Sezinia, Moon So-min, Park Chu-young, and Kim Sung-dae are all names that are mentioned in this. In Sports Seoul, there's a little bit more about Hwang Hee-chan. The big league, have you seen it? Hwang Hee-chan has the ability. But inside, they do have a piece about Suwon Blue Wings' loss to Hwasong, and they say that this is humiliating for them. Speaking of Suwon Blue Wings, there was a piece here in Sports Donga after Suwon's 1-1 draw with Sangju. It basically says that it is a thorny path into the top 6 for both teams following the draw. Lastly, in Sports Kyonghang, there was a piece about Lee Dong-guk and Park Chu-young, their 2 veteran strikers, suggesting that they are defying time given how well they have both performed this season. Park Ji-young, 34 of FC Seoul. He has 8 league goals and 7 assists this season, and also 2 goals in the FA Cup. Whilst Jeonbuk's Lee Dong-guk, who is 40, he has 7 goals and 2 assists in the league this season. Lee Dong-guk has also scored in the ACL for Jeonbuk this year. And now to some of the online stories. In Footballist, Hwasong's Yoo Byung-soo said that he hopes he can earn himself a move to a professional team. Hwasong's first leg win will certainly have caught the eye of perhaps some K-League 2 teams, I'm sure. Into football, they said that prestigious Suwon were overwhelmed by 4th tier Hwasong. Under Im Seng, they said it is the worst possible crisis. In Sports Genius, Im Seng said himself that he would step down if Suwon don't win the cup. This was a shocking remark, according to Sports Genius. Im Seng himself did say that if Suwon do not win the FA Cup, then he will resign. But for one man from Hwasong, Moon Jun-ho, the game was all about revenge for him, according to Into Football. It was a game that he had been grinding his teeth and waiting for. Moon was on the books at Suwon before being released in the end of 2017. He scored the winner, and quite a goal it was, in the 24th minute. To Daejeon Korail's 1-1 draw with Sangju Sangmu. In News 1 said it was a fiercely fought battle from Daejeon. I'm not sure if that was a pun or not, because Daejeon can mean Great War in Korean. Spot TV News said that Lee Gun-won's dramatic equaliser, I should say, Daejeon Korail and Sangju, it was a thrilling draw. MK Sports, a rebellion for the lower league teams in the FA Cup, K-League 1 teams saving face. To K-League 1 news now. Over the weekend just gone, there was no change at the top of the league because both Jeonbuk and Ulsan's games were called off due to a typhoon. But elsewhere, Jeju United picked up a 3-0 win over Songnam. Best 11 said that it was the effect of a team dinner, and Yoon Bik-garam, of course, was with Sangju Sangmu on loan as part of his military service until just recently, but he came back and they put it down to him. Now, it was reported that the Suwon Blue Wings striker Adam Taggart was supposed to be out with an abductor injury. Im Seng said that it could be 1 to 2 weeks, or at worst case scenario, it could be up to 4 weeks. But sources close to the player before Wednesday's game at home to Ulsan said that this wasn't the case and that he was fine. To K-League 2 news, speaking on the 17th of September to Sports Genius, Jeonnam Dragons caretaker manager John Young-jun, he said that the next 20 days can change the fate of the Jeonnam Dragons. Of course, he said, the most important thing is the playoffs. We didn't beat Busan, which was a shame, but it was a point gained. We need to keep going like that and pick up points. Of course, it won't be easy to get into the playoffs, but we will just have to prepare as best we can and wait and see what happens. In the next 20 days, there are 6 matches. These games can change our fate. Well, since the Busan draw, the Dragons drew with Seoul Eland, conceding a late equaliser to them. And they also lost to Asan, leaving them 11 points behind the playoffs with 7 games left. Elsewhere in K-League 2, Anyang beat Seoul Eland 5-2 in what Newsist said was a sacrifice. Eland was sacrificed after Anyang thumped the Leopards 5-2 and are now really leading the chase for 3rd place. And Sanguinas, they lost at home to Bucheon by 2-1. VAR was heavily involved in this match. The headline in Sports Chosun reads, Asan were crying at VAR, Bucheon were smiling. Ansan took the lead in the 16th minute through Park Jun-hee. Bucheon equalised just 5 minutes later through Kim Han-bin. But the controversy began in the 43rd minute when Hwang Tae-eun's cross was headed in by Jang Hyuk-jin. However, in the build-up, Gustavo Vintachenko was adjudged to have fouled Nilsson Jr., and so the goal was chalked off, despite the tackle looking quite innocuous to say the least. Then, in the 94th minute, a Bucheon shot struck the elbow of Ansan's Lee Chang-hoon, who had his back to goal. But of course, under the new handball rules, VAR was consulted and a penalty was awarded. Nilsson Jr. stepped up to convert. Ansan now hold on to 4th place by just 1 point. Emsapol News, they reported that Asan Mugungwa, they have until September the 30th, or they will find out before September the 30th what will happen to them next year. It was reported a few weeks ago that the city of Asan were not prepared to fund a citizen team anymore, but it now seems that that isn't a final decision, and that the team will learn what will happen to them by September the 30th. And finally, the FA Cup, of course, semi-finals, first legs have taken place. But before that, in the press conference, Sangju's Kim Kyung-jun said that, he said that we simply have to win the cup. But Kim Tae-wan, his manager, he said that players like Kim Kyung-jun, who will finish their military service at the end of the season and return to their parent clubs over the winter. In January, they don't usually join up with Sangju's winter training camp. But if Sangju get to the final and win the cup, then he will join up with Sangju's winter training camp. Well, that's it for me this week, so thank you very much for tuning in. If you did like the video, please don't forget to subscribe. Any shares, likes, comments, they're all greatly appreciated. So thanks again, and I will see you next time.